The Bible says in Proverbs 31 verse 25, she is clothed with strength and dignity, and she laughs without fear of the future. That is the spirit of the woman that we welcome today. Confident in her God, bold in her calling, and grounded in grace. She is driven not just by results, but the desire to emit love, peace, and joy. And those who know her will tell you she truly lives that out every day. She finds joy in reading, long drives, swimming, horse riding, decorating her home, and cooking. But what fuels her spirit the most is her faith, her family, and her love for all children. As Psalms 46 verse 5 reminds us, God is within her, she will not fail. So today it gives me great joy to welcome not only a seasoned leader and a trailblazer, but a woman of God, a vessel of love and excellence, and someone whose life is a testimony of purpose, prayer, and perseverance. Please help me give a warm and heartfelt welcome to Ms. Xoliswa, Buyiswa, Uphindile, and Mphongoshe.
all protocols observed, so that's singathethiphai. Tumelo, that introduction almost reduced me to tears. Thank you so much for the generosity and those kind words. I was asked to speak on 3 very specific topics. Financial stability, relationships, and the LGBTQIA plus community. At face value, these topics seem very, very disparate and totally unrelated. However, if you think about it, they're actually quite interlinked in that they are all topics that seize the minds of our young people today. And they seize our minds as well as parents. And they are all informed by a world that has become extremely difficult to navigate for both young and old. I have titled my speech today A Call to Arms, and I'll explain later on why it is a call to arms. Ndizawuqala with financial stability. I'm not going to give the usual speech about financial stability. I want to start at the core of why we see financial instability amongst the youth, right? One of the issues that we are confronted with as a society is corruption and lack of ethical leadership. Bishop Kumesi on Thursday, Xana ebesifundisa uthethe leadership. And wayicacisa leadership ukuba iyintoni kanye what comprises leadership. What should a person who is a leader portray? What should that person reflect as they lead? In fact, I wanted to ask a question, just a show of hands. Who amongst you are leaders? Who amongst you are leaders? If like there's something that I would like for you to carry with yourselves as you proceed with your journey of life. Each and every one of you is a leader. Within your own sphere of influence, there is somewhere where you actually are able to exert some level of influence. And to that extent, you are a leader. In fact, you start being a leader with yourself by leading yourself. You are your own CEO. So when you fail, when companies fail, you don't know the CEO, but who are wrong. So when you in your personal life fail, it is because of the decisions that you have made. I often tell my kids in Dobana, every day when you wake up, you have a choice. In fact, the first choice is whether you wake up or not. Right? That's your first choice, Oyenza. And then the next choice, with the rest of your day. And the decisions you make, as you progress in the day. And all of those things accumulate to the person that you become later on in life. So I want you to keep that in mind. In Dobana, you are all leaders. You may not be taking on a leadership position in Taweni or in any other sphere of life, but you are a leader in your own right. So, in the ethical leadership, the way that I've structured the conversation, I was hoping for a conversation that I got right. The way that I've structured the speech is that I'll take a little and then give my perspective of how that particular issue can be dealt with, right? So, ethical leadership, one of the things that we are working with, Akukho consequences for people who indulge in corruption. There are no consequences at all. So corruption has actually become the norm. And ayenzeki only in state-owned entities, finally, because the assumption is that yonke lento yenzeka in state-owned entities. Yenzeka ezicaweni, yenzeka emakhayeni, yenzeka in several types of structures. And you understand why this is relevant as I go along in the presentation. We also lack in models for young people on ethical leadership. We have leaders, we have plenty of leaders, but the majority of those leaders are not ethical in their behavior. And that's an issue that eventually has an impact on your lives as young people. So izinto that affect your financial stability are external, some of them, and akondonimoyenza ngazo, systemic. In fact, mandingathi akondonimoyenza because it's on. But there are systemic issues that require not a single person, but all of us to work together to resolve. And then there's izinto that affect your financial stability have got to do with yourself and how you yourself conduct yourself. Any into that has an impact on your financial stability, your future, is access to relevant education. I'm very deliberate when the 7 self-ability relevant, because we can all have an education, but it can depend on whether that education is relevant. And when it is relevant to what? Relevant to what our economy needs. So if I have a friend, Sisese Basiti, who studied discourse and biblical studies. Nothing wrong, because but she had no interest. She had no interest, absolutely no interest in teaching. She wanted to do other things, but her choice in a program at university did not relate to what she wanted to do as a career. As a result, to this day, usebenza call centers. So it's very possible to have an education, qualify, graduate, and then never get a job, because the nature of the qualification that you have is not a qualification that is needed by the economy, right? The other mistake is that when we make choices, we all assume the university. But there are other pathways to careers as successful. And those pathways include Ethiopian colleges, they include what used to be technicals, which are now universities of technology. There are other pathways to getting to qualifications that are relevant. Any option is scenario, because sometimes I'm a lawyer by training, right? And I want to assume that all lawyers go to court, singly gown, and everyone is fascinated by his gown and the language you speak, and so everyone wants to study law. I mentor a lot of people about studying law who are struggling to find jobs because there's an oversupply in the market of lawyers. There's an oversupply of lawyers. And most lawyers, unfortunately, look at law, especially the younger lawyers, they look at law as an avenue in practice a court, and most of them, once they get the LLB, must be to advocate. But advocate, when you can't provide for yourself or for your family or anything of that nature. So let's try and make wise and smart decisions. So do your research about the career options that are available. And make sure awuzifaki entweni ezawuthi sewugqibile ke ngokufunda ungabi namsebenzi okanye ungakwazi uziqalela ibhizinisi. Talking about the legal profession, for instance, there's a whole list of career pathways that you can follow. Now, for instance, I practiced for just 2 years. Out of the 30 years of practice as a lawyer, just 2 years, practice not for abantu balazi about the court, the but I decided very early on that I wanted to practice corporate law. And so I went and sought opportunities within blue chip companies in South Africa and worked for them as a corporate lawyer. And that's what I do, on a daily basis. There are other pathways as well outside of, you can go to the State Law Advisor's Office, but abantu abafuna usebenza eHulumende because nathi awuyo lawyer now. And yet, those are very respectable jobs, especially kule corruption besithetha ngayo, because those are the lawyers who actually enforce the law. Bancedisa the state to enforce the law. So disebenzisa the law as an example because that's the space I'm in. But nezinye career funeka usijonge into yokubana ungabikho blinders, you must be able to see the side mirrors kulo career pathway. So that's one of the issues eziyenza ke into yokubana ekugqibeleni ungabikho possible ukuba sibe ne-jobs okanye sisiqalile ibhizinesi so that sibe nale-financial stability siyifunayo. Youth unemployment is a major issue. And it's not just a South African issue. If you do your research, it's a global phenomenon where in each and every country, governments are grappling with the issue of youth unemployment. Argentina in South Africa and Africa in general, but particularly South Africa, that problem is almost exaggerated because of the sheer numbers of young people that we have. And also young people abasuka from other countries who have come in to compete as South African young people. So you have competition not just amongst yourselves, but competition from people who are coming in from outside. Abaza benxaniwe befuna iphila bezohasilisha and bayaphudisa, and they get these opportunities ahead of our own kids. And to me, entrepreneurship is one of the opportunities that you can explore. I actually had an opportunity just the other day to speak to the Dean of the Faculty of Management Sciences and Economics in UWC. Dithetha about the city kuye ndifuna an opportunity for to partner with the university. Ukwenzele into yokubana abantwana bethu bakwazi ukuboniswa what's available, especially with talent entrepreneurship, because they actually have a hub at the university and all sorts of people with providing information, guidance, advice, and all sorts of things. And so this is a call to action for the new president and Nkulake, I'm here. I will make that possible in Lobana, in Dibani, with the dean. She's very excited at the prospect, but I will not do it for you. Now I'll open the door. You guys must go in and make sure that you make it possible. To explore that opportunity. About what is possible. I'm not saying in Obana, whatever. That's not what I'm saying. But at least you will be given an opportunity to see what's available and what isn't, and how you can get into these spaces. And that I thought it's a wonderful opportunity that we should take advantage of. And then in the abuse of drugs and alcohol, I don't want to dwell too much because even amongst you, our children, sinayo abuse, drugs and alcohol. And sometimes you can differ, mama. At least no, guys. No. There is no at least because the impact of alcohol abuse or drug abuse is much different because you will suffer the same consequences as anybody else. You may develop independence and then your life is gone. It's very difficult to come back. I've seen young people that we are struggling with now because they've developed dependence on drugs. But and it affects everyone. It affects not just the individual, by the way, it affects families. So, nakendiyendithi uba awukaqali ngcono ungabisaqala awuqali. Uba sewuqalile seluyeke. Ndingulamama ke mna ke andingomama wesikolweni, but ndingulamama patient uza kukucenga akucenge udikwe kucengwa ndini uyeke. So ndiyaqalisa namhlanje andizoniyeka ndizawunicenga nide nidikwe, sizawunicenga singabamama nide nidikwe sithi niyeke. And then again, there has to be a concerted effort and programs to deal with this urge, say drugs and alcohol. And we should explore in partnerships because we don't always have the capacity. But we do know people. And to the extent that we know people abanosinceda, ndiyacela abantu bakuthi, let's do that. Ndithetha ke with the big brothers, uncles, aunts, sisters, omama, otata abalapha. Let us do what we can to help our kids. Ukuba ngaba une access to anything, open the door. Yes, in some companies, because someone decided, on 7th day, you don't back na each team and to the extent that I do that. And I encourage and if I give who do not deserve I will not do that. But I give abantu becawe yami an opportunity abaxelela uba into ethile emsebenzini wami. Prepare yourself ngolhlobo. I may not be part of the interview. In fact, oftentimes I'm not part of the interview. But at least ndimnikile umntu the opportunity. I implore you, let's please do that. Let's help our kids. It is on us. Asikwazi ushiyela urhulumente wethu uyasifelisha. Bottom line. So ours is to step in and step up and see where we can help and just do it. As a mufundisa something, ndithanda ndifundiseki kwelocala. Enye ingxaki ke esinayo is erosion of virtuous values. Virtuous values. Eza values hlumela bethetha ngazo respect, accountability, you know, those things. Asisaziboni. Actually, it's become fashionable. Ukuba anti, you know, good values. Ukuba ngathi be a joke, especially amongst young people. So I think it is incumbent upon you as leaders, as leaders, to agitate for a return to moral values that are Christian-based. NjengamaKrestu, let's live those values. And let's demand of people who are in our circles to live those values. Masingavumi umuntu esenza into wrong, sibe sihleka okanye sibe it's not on. Because we are not helping our cause in Christianity and building a society that is Christian-based. As we are not helping that cause. When something is wrong, call it out. Call it out for what it is. And that's how you make an impact. And it's difficult, especially when it's in and then all of a sudden, I don't do that. But you best believe, over time, abantu start to respect you and bakumamela. I have experienced it. I have friends that I've grown up with. We are still friends today. There are certain things that they will not do in my presence because I will not accept certain types of behaviors. And I don't want to change where I don't accept that. If I was a pillar unrespected, then don't be a part of my team. And that's just what it is. And it's not that I don't love you or I love people, but there are certain things and I'm very clear about. And I try and teach young people, including my own kids, you must stay true to who you are and what you believe. That's why in my value system, the authenticity is so important. Be authentic to who you are. And then technology is one of the issues as is because in relation to technology, we are just consumers of the technology as young people. WhatsApp, TikTok, we never think of developing applications. So we are not creators of as consumers, right? But we also don't invest in companies that actually develop these technologies. Because technology is moving so fast and there's so much money that's being made. So you have to keep up nokwenzeka ntoni in that world. Ukwenzela into yokubana ukwazi ukuba yazi ntoni every month 200 rand towards that particular company. You know, financial services, similar. But technology is where you need to start thinking about investing as individuals, but also as an association. Lendo into yobana kumane kuba ne-fundraising activities ezizawuraise i-17,000 rand sihleli sibaninzi kangaka. And then there's nothing else beyond lento yayisenziwa ngotatomkhulu notata way back then. No, guys. No. We have to start thinking about asset management, where we place our money so that it grows. So you think about less meetings and travelings and donning, we spend money on hotels and whatever. That shouldn't be the attraction in these positions. The attraction should be, what can I contribute to grow this association? So it's not just about growing yourself and your financial stability, but the stability of the church as well is on you, right? And Sikhona, we can have conversations. Some of these things you try and that's fine. The important thing is that you tried. And from trying, you learn something. So that the next time around, you try an investment, you are wiser. And then you make the right calls, you talk to the right people, and then things go. But we cannot carry on like this. It's not just, by the way, it's not just even it is the church in general. We need to think differently about how we grow this church financially. And right now, I don't think we give ourselves the time, that we require to actually think these things through and actually take action and make decisions. This is our Xoliswa. The opportunities zona zikhona. They are not as many as they were before, but zisekhona. As long as we speak to the right people and redirect our resources appropriately. And aleyo we can have conversations about those things, and we can meet with the right people. Enye into is youth apathy. Yes, njengoba chair council in UWC, one of izinto ezikhathaza kakhulu xa kuqala unyaka. And we have a host of young people abebethu matric. And I mean, nowadays, wonke uyayazi into yokuba funeka ku-aplayiwe, ku-aplaywa njani, NSFAS kwaze kwathini. But you have hundreds of young people abafika bathatha isuitcase, lentoni aba-aplayanga, aba-aplayelanga NSFAS, and all of that. And who is to blame? In that situation, who is to blame? It is the student. It is the student. Because oftentimes, abazali, abayaz, they don't know how to navigate these things. They depend on you as young people. Because nina banolwazi. And this is what they are available. Apply at UWC. You can use the app. Yes, so apply. I'm saying your paperwork and needs all of them. And you apply, and then you will get your responses, via that same medium. I found in and young people just don't do that. And then you know why? because of these issues ebendithetha ngazo. So concern ukuba ipati izawuba nini, izawuba phi, ngolwesingaphi, izawunxiba ntoni, izawuthengelwa ngubani, and you know, and it izinto that actually sadden us as parents, because that's not what we want to see. And so, imiyalezo wami uthi, ask not what, I'm rephrasing what they usually say, ask not what your country can do for you. I'm saying ask not what your society can do for you, but what you can contribute to society. And you contribute actively, always deliberate about your actions, including decisions about yourself and what you want to do with your life. And then depend on this blame nathi as abazali and your support systems, because we are not always there to support you when you need the support. I see sometimes our mameli ngendlebe, and just sometimes if body language yomntana engathethayo tells you uba ikhona into emwalishayo lomntana, and sometimes we choose not to ask because awufuni uyiva, not because awukhathali, but inhliziyo yakho ibuhlungu kakhulu awufuni uyiva. But I think that is exactly when you should be asking the question. Because sometimes then kids withdraw, bangazenzi izinto bafanele bazenze because umntana ucinga uba umama akanayo imali kwaze kwathini kwathini, kanti uba siyancokola, I may find ways zoba ndikuncedise as your parent. So as abazali, we need to walk the talk. Siyathetha kakhulu, siyanxulisa, siyathini, but we don't do our part always. President, the outgoing president, Izolo, uthethe about being your brother's keeper. Ethetha ngento yokubana when you see opportunity, wherever you are, think of your peers. So, nani ke bantu abatsha, you should be looking at each other, watching back, is so-and-so okay? You know? And ungataka right, go and ask, are you okay? Is there anything I can do? Sometimes ube tactful ungathi are you okay? There will be an opportunity apho uzawukwazi ufumanisa into yokuba ikhona into umntu ayilindayo. So please watch out for each other kunye nani. So financial stability, zonke izinto endizithethileyo, if you don't have ezi zinto sithethe ngazo, there is no ways that you're going to be able to look after yourself. Xa ungenamfundo erayithi, xana uphila kwi-society ene-corruption where corruption is the norm, naw uzawuvela ucinga uba hayi indlela elula yokwenza imali le. Kanti ke sometimes bangangabantu abantu babe-200 number 201 bengobantu yophelele efoqweni. Do you want to take that chance? Is that a risk worth taking? But also, what does it do to your spirit? Xa uzazi into yobana uba imali emelba iphilisa abantu abazihluphekelayo abangenanto. You know, so if we call ourselves Christians, it's a package, right? It's a package. It's not just one thing. It's not just about the youth, and all of that. Did we take into financial stability? Did we do relationships? Hey, this one.
Yeah.
Let me start with the most contentious one. When young people are in relationships, and it's not just young people, by the way. Gender-based violence. Oftentimes the assumption is that gender-based violence is violence against women. Kanti-ke it goes both ways. There are many instances of the abuse of men that is either not reported or underreported.
Yeah.
Because kunestigma kana umuntu oyindoda ezawuphatheka kakubi umuntu wesifazane abe ngathi ungumntemntemo othile. Uyabo? Abe ngathi usibayeni othile. Uyabo? So and you know, in both instances, whether it's women or men, some of the solutions to that, firstly, it is reporting. First, you report to those who are close to you, right? Bayazi abantu abahlala nabo, but unalena, so that they can also then provide support. But also reporting to law enforcement agencies. And I had a situation where one of the people has a daughter, exactly the same age as my daughter. So and the daughter is dating a young man who always does the extortion and all of that nonsense. Being that type of person, you know, and all of that, and who's a better, let's say the you know, those are the stories I hear every day. But hey, when's I can't even relate some of the things that he has done.
Yeah.
They are so horrible. So horrible. But this young girl keeps going back to this young man. Why? I don't know. And akafuni indoba nomuntu wakhe ayokukodwa umamakhe. Argument yakhe is that uzakubabulala ifamily. But my view is uzayibulala whether ureporting okanye akayibulala. There have been so many times where he's come close to doing exactly that. So wabalekiswa ke wasiwa to some shelter. And this guy was looking for a